Hey there, this is Alana Terry, and you're listening to the Successful Writer Podcast. And I'm here with Becky Muth. How's it going, Becky?
Hi. Going great.
Becky is one of those online author friends that I feel like I've known my entire author life. Like, I know a year or two ago, we tried to count back and be like, how did we meet? When did we meet?
Yeah.
Why do we know each other? You seem to always be somebody that I've known in the online world.
Yeah. I think only 4 or 5 years. And it seems like we've known each other, forever.
Yeah. From day one, it really does feel
Yeah.
like that. We've worked together on quite a lot of different things. Most closely, Becky is our social media manager and does a lot of behind the scenes stuff for Sweet Promise Press. But yeah, we've really done some fun stuff together. She works for Novel Publicity, so people who know
Yep.
Melissa Storm, Melissa and I talk courses together. So yeah, we go way back, and it's really fun to have you on the
Yeah.
show.
It's great. And I love that our circle of friends is way bigger than what Facebook says it is.
I know. Oh, yeah, that's another one. I was going to use this as a plug for Patreon because Becky is one of our moderators in the Discord. So she's real active
Yeah.
in our Successful Writer Discord channel too. So we get to see lots of Becky, and I'm so thankful for that. And
Oh.
every time I hear people singing her praises, I'm like, yeah, I know. I've been working with her for a long time now.
I am very grateful for all the opportunities and to know you and everyone else we know. So
Yeah, no, it's
we
a
have an
great
awesome
community.
circle of we have an awesome circle of author friends.
We absolutely do. Today, we are going to be sharing with you. Becky is basically the queen of finding free resources and making the most out of them. And so, for people who do that naturally, it doesn't feel like a superpower. But for people who just aren't wired to find those things, it really is a gift because finding the right free tools that do what they say they do and work when you need them to and aren't always breaking on you, or you can do all of this, but then by the time you're ready to finish, now you've got to pay. Like, it actually is a gift. And Becky's compiled a lot of free resources. And where I thought we would start before we dive into some of these resources that I know will be of interest to our audience, I asked Becky to just share a little bit of her story, how she got to be the queen of coupon snipping as an author, because it's a really inspiring story that I think is going to encourage a lot of listeners.
I started writing on January 2nd, 2012. I met up with a friend for lunch, came home, and I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to write for a living. That's what I want to do. Yeah. And he's like, do it. You've been saying you wanted to write since we got together, back in the mid 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. So.
And how old were your kids at the time?
Math. They were like middle school because we'd been homeschooling for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see, I started with an outsourcing company writing blog articles for clients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I started doing first. And the pay was pretty good. And looking back, I understand now that the pay was total crap. But then it seemed like I just hit the lottery. So
you
someone
start
was
somewhere.
paying me. Yeah.
Right.
It was
what kind of articles?
Health blogs and every topic you could imagine, storage containers as houses, how to train your dog to potty training, how to, a lot of how-to stuff.
Right.
Items you don't ever want to put in your child's nursery. And it was all keyword stuffing and social media or social, SEO stuff and search engine optimization. That's what I was trying to think of. And so it was a lot of nitty gritty stuff. And one of the people I worked with, he's also a podcaster, and he was like one of my very first clients. He's my best client overall. The whole time I did it, he has since passed away, unfortunately, but he was one of Canada's top internet marketers.
Mm-hmm.
And for social media marketing, podcasting, all this stuff. And he has had a wealth of knowledge. And one of the benefits was that I had to listen to his podcast and write the show notes for it. So I got all this knowledge, and
cool.
I'm forever grateful for that. But podcasts are certainly a great free resource, especially now there's on so many topics. But So that was in January. I decided to write. By like April, I had gotten my first few clients. I'd really gotten my foot in the door. I was turning jobs away, which is, and exceptional in freelancing. So the very next month in May of 2012, my husband, who is a career firefighter, was bailing out of a window on a training exercise, and he was supposed to land on the ladder, but when he
Mhm.
put his hand on the windowsill and like launched himself up to go out the window, everything in his shoulder tore, his right shoulder.
Oh,
Yeah, so his officers said, shake it off and try it again. And when he tried it again, everything that didn't rip the first time finished ripping. Yeah.
oh,
So I had gotten that call before, like that says, hey, this is the safety officer. I'm calling about your husband, and I knew that like if they were calling, it meant he was still breathing. Because if they're
okay.
not, they show
They're
up at
going
the
to send
door.
someone
Yeah.
over. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So I like, okay, like I know he's alive. So this is good. So he said, he hurt his shoulder and he's been to the hospital, and long story short, he just cannot drive with these painkillers they have him on.
Oh, mhm.
This is on a Friday, and our kids were leaving or no, this is on a Thursday, and our kids were leaving the next day, Friday, on like a week-long church camp out,
Mhm.
or like a camping thing. So I was like, I'm on my way to Walmart to buy sleeping bags. Like, what? So yeah, so very shortly we he was on workers' comp, he was on unemployment for a while, like then a workers' comp glitch in 2013 after his surgery, or 2014 after his surgery. Um, a workers' comp glitch cut us off.
Oh,
So we were getting none of his salary and only my freelance money.
mhm.
And that summer we had like 30-ish, $32 in the bank the whole summer. That was it. And we were living off what I made through, and I got paid in PayPal. So we were
Mhm.
living off PayPal funds.
Yeah.
And that was really scary. And our house payment where we used to live in West Virginia, we bought our house as a fixer upper in the mid 90s. We were blessed with a really super low house payment. Like
Mhm.
there were times in the winter, our electric bill would be higher than our house payment.
Yeah.
So we were really blessed that way. But by this time, I was actually writing books.
Mhm.
So if I needed a book cover, I couldn't go hire a designer. I had to find a way to do it.
Right.
If I needed an editor, I needed to clean up the draft as much as possible before I sent it to an editor, because even though they're going to charge the same either way, I knew, I just wanted it to be,
Mhm.
especially like if I wrote a novella, then do I really need an editor? Do I need just like a bunch of beta readers who are really good at spotting
Right.
errors? It
Right.
was like, so just, picking my battles and where to spend money.
Right.
So then when I met Melissa in 2017, every time I joined her Kindle World, and that's how I met her. And
Mhm.
then she introduced me to you. But in the Kindle world, every time I came up with a graphic or something for one of my books, she's like, how'd you do that? And then she kept telling me, I'm going to hire you. And I was like, okay, good. So that's how I met Melissa and started working for her, because she did hire me. I was her second full-time employee after Angie.
Mhm.
And so some of these, like one of them in the productivity tools is something I learned from her.
Okay.
And that's the tomato timers.
Oh, I
So
love tomato timers. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's go through. So basically, we want to share some of these resources with all of you because authors, if you're just starting out, you might be on a budget. If you've seen a decrease in your sales, you might be on a budget. If your just life circumstances have changed, or just you're dealing with
Yeah.
all the inflation and uncertainty, you might be on a tighter budget than you are. So I just hoped that this would be a really timely thing. Now, I guess I want to give a warning, and Becky, maybe we can go back and forth about like, how do you really know what you should put money out for? Because, for example, not everybody can make a book cover. And so if you try, you might save money, but you might sell 5 copies of a book that otherwise would have sold 500. So how do you know when it's frugality and being smart and wise? And how do you know when you're just refusing to do what makes actual good sense because you're scared of spending the money?
One of the first things I had to do was leave my pride at the door because
Mhm.
I did not want to ask for help.
Right.
And my very first novella that I ever published as a result was Total Crap with a Total Crap cover. And it's since
Mhm.
been, updated.
Updated. Yeah.
So, but um luckily it was updated before did an audiobook. So
Oh,
'cause that would have
nice.
been total embarrassing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the things I like to do is barter. If it's something I
Mhm.
really, really want and I really can't afford it, then I might barter. So let's
Yeah.
say have a friend who does covers and
Mhm.
they're also an author, and I'm really good at blurbs,
Right.
or I'm really good at Facebook ads.
Yeah.
I can say, hey, if you, and like they're bad at Facebook ads, I can say, hey, can I
Mhm.
trade you a cover for I'll manage your Facebook ads for X
Right.
amount of time?
Right.
Or hey, I will doctor your blurbs, and like I will doctor up to 10 blurbs if you can manage my Facebook ads for this amount,
Mhm.
whatever
Mhm.
amount, or a month or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you really have to look at what you can do versus what you need.
Right.
And then I would just make like a pro con list for priorities of what you really, really
Mhm.
need right now, and then go from there first. And there's
Yeah.
two ways you can do it. You can do the snowball method, where you start small and you
Right.
pay for small things up to the big things, or you can avalanche it, where you pay for the big things first and then knock out all the little things.
Right. Yeah. And I would say for people who are trying to prioritize, I would say the cover and the editing are two areas where you really don't want to skimp. You either need to know that you
Mhm.
can do it or barter it and have it be really, really good, or you need to find a way to get the money to do it. Bartering's great.
Right.
Every so often it can get awkward if somebody doesn't hold up their end of the deal,
Mhm.
because it's a little different. You can't like open up a PayPal dispute, with
Yeah.
somebody because they said that they were going to do this, or, maybe someone agrees to trade you and you're going to write blurbs for them, but they hate all your blurbs and now they're not going to do what they
Yeah.
said they do for you. It can be a little tricky, but a lot of times with the right two people, it can be really, really smart.
Yeah. Or like, they're a steamy romance author and you write sweet romance and you're just not comfortable with steamy romance.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So that's
Got it.
happened too.
Exactly. No, and I love just knowing that there's so many free things out here. Like I was blown away. Becky shared her list. Like I was expecting maybe like, I don't know, a dozen, and I would have been like, wow, that's a lot. There's probably like 50 things on here. We'll make it available to everyone here too, so that you can, nobody needs to be furiously scribbling down, all the links that we're gonna share or anything. But one more question for you, Becky, before we dive into some of the free resources is, was it hard for you? So once you started making money from your own books, once you
Mhm.
got hired from Melissa, once your financial situation changed, was the mental shift difficult for you to realize, okay, like I don't need to do it all myself. I don't need to only do what's free. Or were you just ready to be like, oh, good, I've been waiting for this day?
At first it was difficult to let go of that control because I had
Mhm.
gotten so used to controlling everything. So I'm blessed with an editor who's also my very best friend,
That's cool.
and she has a bachelor's in journalism, and she has a master's in psychology, and she is autistic. She's on the spectrum. So she has a really good handle on grammar,
Mhm.
character development, and she's super, super nitpicky about like continuity.
Mhm.
So I feel like I just won the lottery with her. So, and I've told her this before. So she's, but
Yeah.
when I got my audiobook narrator, she was so awesome and she did the royalty split. And I told everybody about her. And now she realizes how great she is and she's raised her prices and I can hardly afford her. So I'm not telling
Oh.
anybody my editor is. So,
That's
yeah.
hilarious. No, that's great, because that can be hard. I think
Yeah.
about the grandma kind of
Mhm.
personality that we grew up with, where it was like they never want to spend anything because they lived through the Great
Yeah.
Depression, or when you and I are
Yep.
great grandmas, people are going to laugh about how we like ration toilet paper, like don't use so much because we lived through the pandemic.
Yeah.
It can be hard to go from really, really, really scarce, like every penny counts, to okay, like I don't have to be as stressed out about it. But it's also really nice to be able to go back and forth, because sometimes, especially since authors, our income does fluctuate so much,
Yeah. Oh
we
yeah.
have leaner months. And so even just knowing what you could do if you had to trim the budget can be really, really
Mhm.
useful.
And I think some authors are going to be surprised at what they really can do, and just give yourself permission to try. And if
Yeah.
if you fail, nobody has to know. You're the only
Right.
one who knows. So
Right. Is there anything that you absolutely would be like, for example, we do a lot of thrift store shopping, but there are
mhm.
just certain things, like we're not going to buy water bottles from a thrift store. Like there are just
Yeah.
certain things. Are there certain things, at least where you are right now, that like, I'm never going to go back to the free?
Oh, discount store shopping. Not that I go to like trendy, expensive stores now,
Uh-huh.
but we used to have a deeply discounted store. Imagine like I don't know if you have like Ollie's or Big Lots or anything, but it's like a closeout store
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
where they have like everything dirt cheap, and it's like they bought like all the big pallets full of stuff nobody, that like didn't sell, and now
Hmm.
they're selling it really cheap.
Right, right.
So, and through the pandemic, it was like, get your hand sanitizer for 99 cents, and
Right, right, right.
or get a little mini ones for a
Yeah.
dollar, and things like that. We had a grocery store closeout sale. So you could go get like the cans of chicken that cost like, however much they cost for a 6-pack at
Hmm.
Costco. We could get them for like 50 cents a can, or a quarter a can or something like that. But the problem was they had some good deals, but they had so much more junk food than a normal grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we moved from West Virginia to South Carolina, they didn't have that store. And because it's warmer longer than it was up
Hmm.
there. Like we only have 3 seasons here, you know
Hmm.
um you know pollen, summer, and hurricane.
Oh no.
So like we really don't have winter. So the produce markets stay open longer, and we buy our meat from the actual butcher shop now. And because of that, even though we're not spending that much more, since we moved here, everybody has lost weight. Like everybody. Plus, we're
Uh-huh.
more active
That's
because
cool.
we're not on the side of a mountain. We're actually
Right.
closer to the beach. So,
Oh,
but
nice.
yeah. So,
Yeah. What
but
about in
yeah,
your writing world? Are there certain like cheap free things that you never want to go back to?
I'm not sure. I really
Mhm.
like all the cheap free stuff on this list.
I
So,
love that. I'm trying to think. The only one that I really regret, I once switched, and actually, I think you were with me. We tried like a kind of knockoff mailer light-esque sort of thing.
oh
And
yeah,
the price
that
was amazing, but the deliverability was just really, really poor. So
yeah.
yeah, there are certain things that if you can help, it might not be great to be too stingy about. But let's dive into your list. Let's talk
Okay,
about graphics, because you make amazing graphics
thank you.
and you're able to do these, not with really, really, really fancy stuff, spending, $500 a month on software and images.
Oh
So
yeah.
talk us
I
through some
actually
of your favorite graphics.
last month I dropped Photoshop. So
Uh-huh.
because I bought, oh, what is it called? Affinity, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Affinity Designer. They were having a sale, and it was like a lifetime
Hmm.
license, price
Yeah.
of like under $60. So I was like, I'll
Yeah.
just get this because I
Yeah.
had friends highly recommend it.
Yeah, those
So
lifetime deals, when you can find them, can be so good, because if you count all of
mhm.
the monthly recurring subscriptions that a typical career author is paying, it can easily be multiple hundreds of dollars a month in that.
Oh yeah. Yep, definitely. So my first free tool is Canva. And yes, you can get the pro edition, and you can get all the fancy bells and whistles that come with that, which I have. But you can do a lot with
Hmm.
the free service. So I have friends who they've had it for years, they've never had the pro edition,
Yeah.
and they don't know what they're missing, but they get along fine without it.
Yeah, no, Canva is great. It's drag and drop graphics, which is a
Mhm.
lot easier for me than the kind where you have all the layering and stuff. That just never felt intuitive. And they've got really, really nice templates, which is cool. So
Yes, they do.
you're not starting from a blank screen, which for
Mhm.
someone like me who's not in love with graphic design, it's really nice
Yeah.
to have a place to start.
Yeah, I love their templates. So next on my list is the Adobe Color Wheel. And you guys can't see this, but when you open it up, it shows you various palettes. And there's another one that I'll add to the list that's it's called Coolers, where you can make a color palette. So if you don't have a brand kit and you need to make your branding, you need to choose some colors. This can help with that. It can help you, it'll show you what colors look like next to each other. So like, and like, just because I like, pink, teal, and yellow,
Hmm.
like it just worked out that they look good against each other. My first colors that I chose did not at all. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was like purple and orange, and I was like, oh no, no, no.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. So, yeah, if you're looking for colors that go together for logos or
Mhm.
book covers or your author website, I know I get really intimidated just starting with, again, like starting with a wheel that's got every single color that exists and hovering my
Yeah.
mouse and picking a color and like, I don't know. So yeah,
Yep.
it is really nice to have things like that for sure.
So on the Coolers website, which I totally have the free version of that, you can actually upload your book cover, and you
Hmm.
can, like, if you're looking for colors for your series, if you want to create a color palette to use with all the branding for that series,
Hmm.
you can upload like book one or whatever the most colorful book is in the series, and you can actually pick colors from that book cover.
Cool. Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I know one of my favorite graphic tools that's free. It's just like a color picker and it's a
Hmm.
Chrome extension. So if I'm like, wow, that's a really pretty color, or I'm in Canva making something and I want it to match the color of the text on my book cover or something, I don't have to like eyeball it. So yeah,
Yep.
those are great. And then stock photos, that's kind of a side of graphics. Where do you like to go to find your stock photos?
Unsplash is my number one,
Uh-huh.
and it's just photographers upload their photos, and it's great, especially for like background pictures.
Hmm.
And you can put in like something pattern, like I can put in like pink pattern
Mm.
or whatever.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so
Like
so yeah, it's
textures and stuff. Yeah.
a lot of great photos, and the photographers have already, like, they've already retouched or balanced the colors and things.
Hmm.
Another one is Pixabay. You kind of have to watch with Pixabay because some of it is copyrighted. Like they'll have something with the Coca-Cola logo, and you're like, really? You say it's
Right.
free, but it breaks the copyright. So just
Yeah. Talk to us about
and
what to look out for in terms of the copyright in using stock photos.
so you want to make sure that it's has a commercial license. You want to read the fine print to see if the commercial license has a run. So like if you're using it on a book cover, if it has a run of 10,000 and you sell more than 10,000 books, then you
Mm-hmm.
may have to pay a fee depending on what they say. And this
Here's
is
a
even
question for
true.
you.
Hmm?
Sorry, a question for you. So let's say that you can use the image 10,000 times based on the
Mhm.
license you get, and that's an image on your book cover. And so does that mean that it's just 10,000 books sold, or would that also mean that if you made graphics and put them in your ads and those ads were seen by 1,000 people, does that also count toward it?
I think it depends on what the fine print says
Oh,
for
okay.
each program,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but like if you're using, some of them say like for viewing, and some of them say like they specify it's for, if it's for sale you can
Oh,
sell this
okay.
many
You can sell
copies.
this many units, or it can
Yeah.
like this many impressions. Okay.
Hmm.
Is there any other language that people should be looking out for when they're
um
checking?
yes, editorial use only. If it's for editorial use only, then you cannot put it on anything for sale.
Oh, okay. So what's
Yep.
editorial use mean then?
Just
Just non-commercial?
yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Mhm. No,
So
that's really good to know.
I just know to avoid it. I've never really explored it.
Got
So yeah.
it. No, that's great
And
because a lot of people are like, oh, here's a stock photo.
mhm.
Um, it's free to download. I guess I can do whatever I want to with it now.
Yeah, there was a guy who took an amazing picture of the Brooklyn Bridge, I think it was. It was one of the
Mhm.
bridges in New York. I'm pretty sure it was that one. And there was a big box store that put it on a pillow and sold like a lot. They made a lot of money off this product.
Mhm.
And he's like, but I only made like 10 cents from the picture, and that's not fair.
Right. Well, and I
So
believe even certain landmarks are under different types of protection.
yeah, like if you're the zoo
Uh-huh.
and the zoo owns the animal,
Mhm.
then you can't use that picture for commercial purposes because you don't own the animal.
Mhm.
So it just depends on where you are and what the subject is.
Right, right. Or, I would
So,
imagine a sports stadium or
mhm,
something like that,
yeah,
probably. Yeah. It's interesting because, like, on the one hand, it's great that we have access to so many stock images, but on the other hand, like, most of us aren't trained to know what language to look out for. So that's
right.
really, really useful.
And the fine print is also true on Canva because some of their pictures come from places like Deposit Photos.
Hmm.
So just read whenever possible, read the fine print if ever you're not sure. And speaking of Deposit Photos, they also have some free photos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it used to be a little red sticker on it, but now I think they've changed to green. But it's a little sticker in the corner of the picture, and it says free, and you can just
Okay.
download that for free.
Nice.
They're
Yeah.
not the best pictures, obviously,
Hmm.
but
Hmm. No, I like deposit photos because they have the deals where you can pay like $50 to get 50 downloads or
yeah,
something. So that's usually where I go.
yeah. And if you're if you follow AppSumo, they
Mhm.
have deals where you can like it's like once a year, I think, and it's like $39 for 100 coats, and
Yeah,
they never expire. And
yeah.
as a result, I have like a lot of coats.
Thousands. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in addition to being great at graphics, you are kind of known as being like having a magic touch with social media. I know a lot of authors hire you for help, like running a Facebook group or getting Facebook group engagement. First of all, can you just talk a little bit about best tips and tricks? Like, is being amazing at running social media for other authors something that you taught yourself, something that came naturally to you?
Um, I started doing it for my community library
Oh,
back in like
wow.
2014.
Uh-huh.
And then a writer friend was starting up a business and was like, "Hey, I love your social media. Can you make some graphics? And then can you schedule some graphics? And then can you add some hype with the text copy?" And then um after that was when I started working for Melissa, and I really liked Melissa's voice, and it was
Hmm.
always so cheerful and positive and upbeat. So
Hmm.
whenever I scheduled her social media, I just tried to match her voice.
Right.
And we had a client, I think earlier this year, and she's like, "Who wants to do the social media? Becky, if you do it, you cannot be bubbly." Like, because it
Oh,
was a
yeah,
serious
because it's
client. I was like,
different. Yeah.
okay. Like, it's weird because, in person, I'm such an introvert and I'm always like in the back and
Uh-huh.
I'm always quiet and shy.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, but, but yeah, so I just try to, when I do it, I try to match the author's tone as much as
Hmm.
possible.
Yeah.
Um, right now I have like, I can think of like four different genres I cover right now that are
Hmm.
totally different, and the
Yeah.
authors are totally different.
Right.
So, but yeah,
No, that's
after,
amazing.
yeah,
What would be so for people who it's not quite so natural to just jump in and start a Facebook group or create Facebook engagement or create
mm,
posts that get a lot of conversation? Do you have just a couple throwaway tips for how to be just like 10% better at your Facebook group than you
yeah,
are at the moment?
be conversational,
Mhm.
um, add a smiley emoji, like that
Smiley
makes
emoji.
such a difference. Like,
Unless you're
yeah,
the author who's never bubbly.
right. Unless you're like a serious law, you just write thrillers,
Uh-huh.
and you're a very serious person in real life, and if you had a smiley emoji, they'll know that, like, you're probably being held hostage
That's
somewhere.
right.
It's like, like if I ever post a bad grammar, that I've been taken
Uh-huh.
hostage.
Right.
So,
And then what are some of your favorite resources to help people manage their social media?
um, there's a time zone converter. So if you're trying to connect with another author for like, or another author is invited you to do a takeover, but they're in like you're in Eastern, they're in Pacific, or they're in Australia, then that could help. I love the Emojipedia. It's basically an encyclopedia of emojis,
I've never been
and
there.
you
That's cool.
can, yeah, you just search what you want to find. You, and then once you click on that emoji, there's a button where you can copy it, and then you can just go over into your Facebook post and paste it.
Okay.
Or if you're using a site like, Hootsuite, which is free to schedule your post on
Mhm.
Facebook. Facebook also now has their Meta suite thing,
Okay.
and it opens up like when you go to, let's see, when you go to your Facebook page, let me see, where's my Facebook page? So when you go to your Facebook page, it will say like write something to and the name of the page, and then at the bottom it'll say schedule your post from Planner in Meta Business Suite.
Mhm.
And once you go there, it'll show you the weekly view by default, but you can change it to monthly view, and you can see your whole month at a glance, and you can schedule a post for any day. It'll tell you what time of day they suggest. Their times are always in the evening, which is kind of sketchy for me because I like posting earlier in the day. Their default time is
Mhm.
10 a.m. So I normally go with that. They
Mhm.
also show you the most popular holidays. So like for June, they showed you like, World Bicycle Day, Flag Day, International Picnic Day, Father's Day, Juneteenth.
That's
So
cool.
just for
So
example.
I know you do it really well, but give us some examples. Like, because I know you're always telling me about like obscure holidays. You're like, oh, did you know that today's National such and such day? Can
Yeah,
you give us examples of how you can use like quirky holidays in your social media and your marketing?
sure. Coincidentally, today is social media day.
Oh, well,
So
happy
I was
social
in,
media day.
yeah. So I was in a chat with someone on Discord earlier, and they were like, well, this won't work for mine, so I'm not even posting anything about it. I'm like,
Hmm.
are you kidding? If you have social media day is celebrating how you connect with other people on social media. I'm like, well, if you're not going to use it on social media, you could put it in your newsletter, and you could say, hey, today's social media day. I love that I've connected with you online. And if you would like to stay connected in other places, here's all the ways you can do that. Facebook, Twitter,
Hmm.
Instagram, Pinterest, whatever,
Right.
wherever you are, Telegram, whatever,
Hmm. Hmm.
TikTok, all the places I don't go.
Right. We're getting old, Becky.
Yeah. 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 My kids are like, the only reason I joined TikTok was to troll my kids.
Aw.
And especially my youngest, because like you'll never find me there. So I found it in like 2 seconds, followed him, and I waited about a week or so. Then I was like, you haven't even said hello to your new followers. He's like, I don't have
Aw,
any followers. I'm like, oh yeah, you do.
that's
So then like
hilarious.
he's like, whatever. He walks out of my office, turns around, walks right back in. He says, how dare you? Because I'm your mom. That's what I do.
Yep, yep.
So, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's 20, he's almost 24. So so it's not like it's like child,
Hmm.
endangerment or anything. So I'm trolling my kids, but
Right. What are your recommendations for the more seriously toned authors? What kinds of posts and things do you suggest they talk about? Like, let's say I write women's fiction, but it's real heavy. It's not cute and so it's not really the like I'm going to put tons of emojis in
yeah,
here and stuff. What recommendations do you have for that type of author?
I would look at themes that match that genre. So like strong women, uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the whole find your tribe kind of thing.
Right.
Um, you could even do not really health tips, but like self-care.
Oh,
That would be a
yeah.
good one for that
Mhm.
genre.
Mhm.
Um, if your books deal with a heavy topic like domestic violence,
Mhm.
you could like maybe like once every 10 days or so, or maybe like, once or twice a month,
Mhm.
you could put something like, hey, you know, I write about this a lot, and I wanted to just throw out this reminder that if you or someone is in need of help, here is a resource,
Yeah. Oh, I love
and
that.
just like the 800
Mhm.
number or something.
Yeah.
And that's something we kind of picked up in the true crime podcast.
Yeah. So, what's your suggestion? Because I know different authors have different opinions and they get nervous about sharing their own kind of politics and things like that. Do you have strong opinions on whether all authors should be apolitical or be like all the way out there, even if it risks alienating, or pick and choose? What are your thoughts?
So my my thoughts are, if you feel super strongly about it, if it's, if it's a topic you feel super strongly about and you will support, then support it.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of a lot of people will give you the advice, do not post anything about religion or politics if you want
Hmm.
to, if you, and because if you do, you will alienate readers and
Hmm.
they won't want to follow you.
Hmm.
So I am super loud about what I believe in on especially the past couple weeks.
Hmm.
And um my Facebook page is public. It has been,
Uh-huh.
pretty much almost the whole time I've had Facebook. And yeah, so I am, that's just a choice I make. I'm not loud about all the, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
like all the things, but
Yeah.
like, so there's some topics I just won't touch. But then
Hmm.
there's some like women's rights, I'm like, women have rights. Like, if you're a woman, you have some rights. Don't forget you have rights
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
things like that. So, and I'm very anti-domestic violence.
Right.
So, yeah, so I will always share,
Hmm.
things like that.
Yeah. No, that's useful because it is kind of tricky. It used to be that you would get in trouble if you said the wrong thing, but now it's almost
Yeah.
like, well, if you don't say something, if you stay silent, some people
Hmm.
will get mad at you about that. And so, like, there are authors like me, I'm way more
Oh.
apolitical in my online, persona. And so
Hmm.
it's kind of like, okay, I'm not going to be talking about this. That doesn't mean I don't care. It doesn't mean I
Yeah.
don't have opinions. But yeah, it's a little bit interesting. Have you noticed a real big change? What I'm sure there you have. What are the biggest changes that you've noticed in running and marketing for social media for authors?
Um, I would say that if you are, this doesn't really have to do with the change, but another one quick tip is, anything I have to say that takes a side, I leave it on my personal page.
Mm-hmm,
My
mm-hmm.
author page and my Facebook group, they are free of it, and
I
there's no
like that. Yeah.
politics there
Mm-hmm,
at all.
mm-hmm.
And I let
Yeah.
people know, I'm like, we don't have to be friends on Facebook. If you just want to follow my author page, that's
Yep.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot
So
of sense.
yeah, I think one of the big changes is that there's a group of people who feels entitled to have a voice, even though they may be sending the wrong message, or they
Mm-hmm.
may be sending a message that's not very clear and can be misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I think it's just be very careful with um like, know what you're posting about. I had a
Mm-hmm.
friend who follows the same, she has the same political leanings I do, and she tried to argue with someone in the comments that, who was agreeing with me that we were wrong. And I was like, well, here's this article from the New York Times. And then later she's like, oh, I apologize, I was totally wrong, blah blah blah, but I left the comments up because they're educational.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, that's cool. I know
yeah.
I get a little nervous, like my worst case scenario. This is why I remain totally apolitical
Yeah.
online. My fear is if I were to express an opinion, even if it was like in the comments of somebody else's post, and
Yeah.
it makes somebody mad enough, they're gonna look up who I am. They're gonna be like, oh, she's an author. And then all of a sudden they're gonna like lambaste me with 1-star reviews or something. I jumped several steps ahead to where,
Yeah.
like we've lost the house and I'm, poor
Oh
and
no.
miserable.
Yes, luckily we have my husband's retirement and I have a day job, so we're not just living off my author earnings. So I
Yeah.
do have that going for me. But I did get a horrible, horrible review on my very first book ever, Screaming
Uh-huh.
Jenny. It's the only 1-star review. And my editor was faced with the choice to spend an extreme amount of money
Mhm.
on a last ditch effort to save her elderly cat, or to choose, it was a quality over quantity
Right.
thing. Did she want to extend her life, or did she want her
Yeah.
just to go peacefully now?
Yeah.
And the extension of life wasn't going to be that much, I don't think.
Mhm.
And one of her friends was like, spending that much money on a pet is stupid, blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And I said, oh, no, 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 no. What's stupid is telling someone how to spend their money on saving their animal. And
Uh-huh.
she looked me up and left me a 1-star review.
Oh.
And the review says something like, not worth the paper it's printed on. And I laughed because I was like, you're saying this about the ebook version.
About the Kindle
Like,
version.
hello.
I
It's not
love
printed on
that.
paper anyway. So
Right.
yeah. So I was like, yay, I'm authentic. I have a 1-star review now. But yeah, it did
Yeah.
happen. And it was, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a ton you can do. And like you
Yeah.
said, a 1-star review or two, they do make you look more legit. So nothing
Yeah.
to lose
And
sleep over.
I put her in a book in one of my pen names, and that character was sent away for life. So,
Yep. Got her
yeah.
comeuppance. Well, talk to
Yep.
us about some of your favorite tools, especially working from home. It's easy to
Yeah.
get distracted. What tools do you like to just stay focused?
So I love the newsfeed eradicator. It's a
Oh,
Chrome
I've got that
extension.
too.
Yes.
Mhm.
And when you open Facebook, it does not show you a newsfeed. It just shows you an inspirational quote. But you can
Yep.
change those quotes. So
Mhm.
my quotes are a little hostile, and they're like, "Why aren't you writing? What's your
Oh,
word count?
really?
Should you be
That's
on Facebook?"
hilarious.
Oh
Mine
yeah,
are like super sweet and inspiring, and I never
yeah,
even thought about changing it. That's so funny. Like I get quotes from
yeah,
Gandhi, and right
yeah,
now mine says, "Even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree." Martin Luther. Those are the quotes
Aw,
that mine gives
see,
me.
that's so sweet.
It's so
Yeah, mine
me.
are not. Yeah, and like, some author quotes, like, the road to hell is paved with adverbs. Get rid of your adverbs.
Oh
But yeah,
no. I didn't know you could
yeah,
do that. But no, it's great because it means that you can't browse Facebook from your computer.
right.
I
I
can
can
still
do it
check
from my phone.
notifications.
Yeah,
You know what I did is I changed my Facebook password to just total gobbledygook
yeah,
and never logged back in on my phone. And never bothered to take the time to be like, okay, I know that if I go, I'm going to have to look up like 30 digits of like the
yeah.
most random symbols and put them in. So I've had Facebook off my phone for probably 5 months now. It feels so good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Now,
I
granted, I'm
rarely
on board
go.
Panda more,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I rarely go. I've been playing a game. It's free, and I've been playing it for like 4 years now. And it's one of those where you like solve the quest and get items to decorate your island. And my
Mhm,
island is
mhm.
so big now that I can't quit.
Uh-huh,
So, and it's pretty decked out.
uh-huh.
Jimmy was looking over my shoulder. My husband, he's looking over my shoulder, and he goes, "What's all that?" And I'm like, "Don't even get me started.
Oh.
This is 4 years of hard work, yeah, of
Yeah,
hard labor." And
yeah,
yeah, so that has taken over my Facebook time on my phone at the end of the day. And
yeah,
or if like, we go to the pharmacy, and he runs inside and I'm waiting in the car, I'll
right, right.
play my game for a few minutes.
Yeah. No, sometimes we need
So
that
that's
time.
not really productive.
Well, if it's giving
So
your brain time to kind of
yeah,
decompress, I still call that productive.
yeah, decompression is like really important.
Yeah.
So, but when I'm being productive, besides the newsfeed eradicator, I use timers on my Echo device.
Mhm.
And she's pretty hostile too, because I have one that's called Start Writing.
Oh no.
And then she's like, "Okay, it's time to write." And she plays like 20 minutes of music, soothing
Uh-huh.
music. And then there's like this alarm. I don't know if you've ever watched like The Circle on Netflix, but it's like,
Oh,
"Stop writing, get the hands off that keyboard. How many words did you get?"
I'd
And she's
cry
like a
if I
drill
was writing at
sergeant.
your house. That'd be so funny. I would just like, don't yell at me, please.
Yeah, she just totally starts screaming. So I'm like, "Oh, stop." And then, yeah. And I always lose track of time, so I don't know like how much time has gone by. So
Right, right.
um
Well, and you had mentioned the tomato timer. For people who don't
yep.
know, can you explain how that works?
Yeah, so what it does is it goes along with like the Pomodoro method. Did I
Mhm.
say that right?
Yep, yep.
So what it does is it sets a timer for 25 minutes. So you can do 25 minutes worth of work, and then you get 5 minutes of goof off time, and then 25 minutes of work and 5 minutes of goof off time. Or just, you can take a short break, a long break. It's got all kinds of settings that I have not even played with. But yeah, it's an online timer. It's really helpful. Um, if Oh, and if you want background noise, but you don't want to be like, shocked back into reality at the end of it,
Hmm.
like I am,
Right.
you can still use your Echo devices for that. You can use Spotify for your computer and just, set it for a playlist or some other ones. I know some people cannot write to music, but they still need white noise.
Hmm.
So Cogtivity, Cogtivity,
Uh-huh.
and this will be in the link, so you don't have to worry about how to spell it. But it's basically a coffee shop background. Cafe restaurant does similar. It's a background noise generator.
Yeah. And you can
Um,
find some of these things on YouTube also, but then sometimes you get
oh
interrupted
yeah,
by ads.
yeah. I had
Uh-huh.
YouTube Premium for 3 months for free, and then when I turned it off, like I was like, oh, this is not that different. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
So,
no, it
but I'm
totally
not.
is.
Yeah, I'm not willing to pay for it. So, one of my favorite ones is rainymood.com, and it's just
Uh-huh.
basically gentle rain.
That sounds nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
so soothing.
tried the like a coffee shop
Yeah.
noise one, and it made me so anxious
Oh,
because I don't know, just like feeling surrounded by people, or like it felt like I needed to try to pay attention to
yeah.
what I was hearing. So it didn't help me tune it out. It had the exact opposite effect. And it made me feel like I was being watched. I didn't like it. But because I know even for music, if I have music, it needs to be instrumental, because if it's
Yeah.
lyrics, like I find myself trying to listen to those.
Yeah.
But no, I think you could learn a ton about different authors by what productivity music they prefer in the background.
Yeah.
Are you familiar
Um,
with binaural beats, is I think how you say it?
no, is that the lo-fi kind of stuff?
I don't know. My layperson understanding is that it works with headphones, and going in one ear is a slightly different frequency than what goes in the
Oh
other
wow.
ear. And what it does is, what based on the frequency and the frequency difference, it can tune your brain in different ways. And it might be like 100% placebo, and I'm totally fine with that. But they have specific ones for focus, or for concentration, or for happiness, or,
Oh,
for
that's so
feeling
cool.
calmer. And so that's one of the ones that I like. Or I like to listen to a Marvel movie soundtrack, like instrumentals, and be like, especially if I'm getting all like pumped up and psyched up to write something exciting. Those are my two
Yeah,
go-tos.
Pandora, the Hans Zimmer channel on Pandora is really good for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, there's another one. It's called Ride or Die.
Oh, I know about that
And
one. Yeah.
yeah, it's got different settings, and like it'll like if you quit writing, it'll start backspacing, or
Hmm.
you start writing and you set the timer and it's like a crying baby goes off if you quit
That's
writing.
terrible. Becky, you're
Yeah, I'm
a
like,
horrible person.
yeah, I'm like, why would anyone use this? Like, I
Or
think
I know
I
of
only used it a
one,
handful of times, and
like if
yeah.
you stop writing, it makes a big spider show up on your screen and scare you.
Oh,
Like they're just mean.
yeah. I only do that if my husband's sitting next to me because he's terrified of spiders.
I love spiders because they eat our mosquitoes. So
Yes.
we're just like, every time we see a spider, we like cheer him on, like, come on, little guy, you can do it.
Yeah. I've got a couple spiders living in my window, between the window and the screen, because I don't put my windows up very often
Oh,
because pollen is
yeah,
like, I see them, like I would always see the memes about, pollen in South Carolina. I have friends who live
right.
here and they would complain about it. You don't get it till you live here,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, our
Well,
pond was we have a pond, a little small pond in front of our yard, and like it had a yellow tinge across it for all the
yeah.
from the pollen. And
Yikes,
ugh,
like pollen
yeah,
scum.
yeah. But I love my little spiders. I named them all
Yeah.
Charlotte after Charlotte's Web. So
Well, I know we still have more on your list. So
yes,
let's jump to the newsletters, because I know that's
yep,
a huge one. That can be a really big expense. There were some
yeah.
of them where, based on how many subscribers you have, you might end up paying
Mhm.
hundreds of dollars a month. So what do
Oh
you find to
yeah,
be the best newsletter providers?
yeah. And some people they go with a one that's popular. I'm not going to
Hmm.
name names, but they'll go with a
Hmm.
popular one, and it's got like a lot of fancy bells and whistles, and
Hmm.
they don't even need it yet because
Yeah,
they're
you
just
might not
starting
need that
out.
much. Yep.
So the two that I see the most are MailerLite and MailChimp.
Hmm.
Very easy to set up, very easy to use. Both of them will work with like a Gmail address. Um, I got an email last night from a multi best-selling author who's also an Emmy award-winning newscaster. And I'm reading through her newsletters are always delightful. And I get to the bottom, like, she uses MailChimp? Huh. Like,
Uh-huh.
wow. Like, that's really cool. So I prefer MailerLite. I think the deliverability is a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I started out with MailChimp, but then I was using MailerLite for so many clients that that's my personal
Yeah.
preference.
Yeah.
I also have a link in here that it compares like 5 or 6 different free newsletter
Mm-hmm.
um, platforms.
Yeah.
And so that way you can just, see what works best for you.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, we've been chit-chatting a ton, so I think we'll wrap it up with the list here, but we'll throw it in the show notes so that anybody
Oh,
who's
yeah.
interested, Becky you've probably only heard maybe like 20% of what she's got on here.
Yeah.
She has a list of just fun things like quizzes
Oh,
and
yeah.
things like that. Those are fun for reader engagement as
Oh,
well.
yeah. And for book releases,
Mhm.
stick a word search in your newsletter.
Yeah. Different writing tools. Do you have a writing tool you want to throw out? Like, does one on your list warrant, like,
Um,
everybody must know about this?
I love the Hemingway app
What does that
because
do?
it's an online editor
Oh, okay.
and it's web-based. You don't have to download anything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to though. And it only lasts for as long as you have the page open. So as soon
Oh,
as you close the
okay.
page, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't know is that the text that's there, you can just get rid of the example text and just paste your own text in, and it's color coded. So like passive voice shows up in one color, and
Mm-hmm.
at the sentence,
Mm-hmm.
if it's purple prose, a really long sentence, it shows up in purple.
Yeah.
And being a visual person, I like the color coding. And I also, a lot of people think you have to be a member of Masterclass
Mm-hmm.
to access all the stuff on their site, but they have a blog and they have articles with so much good information that's available to anybody. So I have a link for that in there too.
Awesome.
And the last one I want to mention is Sisters in Crime, because you don't have to be a member to do their webinars or, read some of their articles and things like that.
Is that more for like suspense and mystery
Um,
authors? What do they do?
some of it's a mystery writing group,
Cool.
but and suspense, I guess too. And but some of their webinars have been like, just basic writing related, not really
Yeah.
genre related, or it's more industry related.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Awesome.
So,
Well, thanks for compiling all of this and sharing kind of your own personal story with us.
yeah.
And yeah, all of the extra free advice you had about social media and everything else. If people want your help, especially with social media and stuff, because I know you've got a couple different services. Do you want to, take a minute to just tell us about that?
So I have a Patreon. It's called Month of Sundays. And the tagline is because planning your social media shouldn't take a month of Sundays. And it's patreon.com/month of Sundays. It starts at $10 a month for a basic social media calendar that has a suggestion for every day. And then the benefits, there are 3 tiers. The benefits get a little bigger with each tier, of course, how Patreon works. But the other tiers, the benefits are graphics that you
Oh,
can
cool.
use. Um, and it's made to fit like any genre. So I don't want to say it's generic or basic, but there's
Mm-hmm.
still eye-catching graphics. But it's just, some are holiday based, some are seasonal, some are
Very
just book
cool.
related, and then also newsletter prompts.
Oh, nice. That would be really useful because I know that's a big one. People are like, what do I write about in my newsletter?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so Month of Sundays on Patreon. Well, thanks again for being you and sharing
Thank
such a
you for
wealth of
having
knowledge
me.
with us. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah.
And again, this is Becky Muth, and you can find her at Patreon on Month of Sundays or all the places online to check out what
Yeah.
she's doing. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your books too, in case people are interested?
Oh, sure. As Becky Muth, I write sweet romance and romantic suspense, and they're mostly published through Sweet Promise Press. And then as R.A. Muth, I write cozy mysteries and weird little Twilight Zone kind of stories.
Fun. All right. Well, have a great day, everybody. And Becky, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.